Things are getting worse for former President Trump on his weak defense over the documents he had at Mar-A-Lago. What else has been released regarding the documents found at Mar-A-Lago, and what are Trump and his loyalists saying? Biden, just a couple days ago, called out the MAGA Republicans. This time he flat out says they are part of extremism that threatens the very foundation of our republic. What are his opponents saying? All this on this week's episode of Current Events on Tap. Good evening, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Current Events on Tap with your host, Alex Kirsch, a podcast from the Alex Kirsch Project. Hey, that's me. I'm an Army retiree, a truck driver, pragmatic progressive, and sometimes a clout chaser, I'm not going to lie. If this is your first time listening, please do me a solid and hit that like and share and subscribe to my Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, and guess what? Even my iHeartRadio. This podcast gives you this week's current events, and I also do what I call the beer of the week. I pick one beer and review it based on price, pour, aroma, taste, and then I'm going to give it an overall rating. Be sure to catch me every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's right, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Spreaker. Then catch me at your earliest convenience on YouTube, Spotify, and once again, iHeartRadio. Just type in the Alex Kirsch Project or Current Events on Tap, and you will find this podcast. Now, without further ado, it is time for the Beer of the Week. And once again, it is time for another beer from the country of Germany. Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles. So, also known as Deutschland, yes, that was the theme. That was the anthem from Germany. Okay, this week's beer of the week is called Dortmunder Aktienbrauerei. I probably butchered that, but that's just because Deutsch is a very, very difficult language. So you have to cut me some slack. But I'm just gonna call this one DAB for short. But this is DAB Export Original. Now, the history of the brewery, the DAB Brewery was founded in Dortmund, Germany in 1868. Now, according to the website, according to DAB, by 1879, DAB was exporting to 4 different continents and winning medals in their beer competitions all across the world. DAB is still one of Germany's major export brands of beer that goes to approximately 20 different countries worldwide. So this is a major exporter of beer. I mean, DAB is a major exporter in regards to beer, especially the Export Original. It has an alcohol percentage of 5%. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the price. I'm going to give the price a 3.5 out of 5. It goes on average for about $7 to $8 for a 4-pack of pint-sized cans, depending on which liquor store you might buy this at. I, however, bought this at a 4-pack in pint-sized cans at Kern's Sausages, once again in Frankenmuth, Michigan, once again, just because they have a magnificent selection of German beers in that store. However, you can also order this beer online at places like winesearcher.com or totalwine.com. Or you can always take a trip down to your local liquor store and check out the import section and see if it's available there. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the pour. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. It's a steady pour. The head has very nice foam to it. It has a very, very nice appearance once it enters the glass or the mug or stein, whatever is your preference. And tonight I have my trusty 428th Field Artillery Brigade beer drinking mug, of course. That's what I usually drink my beer out of anyway. Now, if you pour inside of there, like once it actually starts to fill up, I always tilt the glass at a 45-degree angle, and then I slowly pour and sort of like rotate the can slightly so that way the pour comes out a little bit more consistently. That way then, like, there's enough head at the very top of the bubble, the little foam at the top, and then it has a nice golden color to it, honestly. It's actually very, very pretty to look at, honestly, but, honestly, you can either pour it into a beer stein. You could pour it into a glass, a mug, whatever your preference is. Or if you're simple, just keep it in the can. Whatever you got to do if you're a simple person. However, I feel like a beer like this tastes better when it comes out of a mug or a like a giant mug or a stein. That's just my personal preference, honestly. I drank out of a can last night, but honestly, out of a mug, it tastes so much better. So, once again, pour 4 out of 5. The aroma, it does have that very, very serious hop smell. Now, there are some beer critics out there, and I checked out some of the other beer critics about what they felt about this, and they said it's a very slight. But honestly, because I have a very, very good sense of smell, you can definitely smell the hops in there. You can smell that bite already that just jumps right at you. It's a slight hop for some, but like once I pick up that first whip, you pick up the hops and that malty smell. It actually is quite pleasant once you take a look, because some people are very particular about the malt and the hops and whatnot and that smell. But honestly, I think for a beer like this, it's a very, very, very particular smell. I actually kind of like it. So the aroma definitely does get a nice 4 out of 5. Now, the taste, on the other hand, I'm going to have to give this a 3 out of 5. The smell, I think, actually smells better than it actually tastes. Not saying that it's a bad tasting beer, but to me, it's fairly average. Still has a fairly nice taste to it. Not too much aftertaste, speaking of which, I'm going to take a quick drink real quick. But, there was no real aftertaste. It tastes kind of like a typical average beer, honestly. There's nothing really that kind of just jumps out at you. There's nothing like really in there. You might get that slight hint of corn, but I don't know. I just don't really think it's like a beer that just like jumps out at you with its taste, that when it hits your taste buds. I don't feel like this overall sense of just, euphoria when I taste it. But it still has a very, very pleasant taste to it. I'm not saying it's bad. Now, this is a beer that I think it tastes better not at room temperature, but when it's cold. Some beers taste okay whether they're room temperature or cold, but this one, I think it tastes better when it's cold and not necessarily room temperature. Now, speaking of which, I tried these beers last night. I had 2 last night, and I had one that was cold, and I had one that was at room temperature. And I had it while I was actually on a podcast last night on the Sex, Drugs, and Roll podcast with my friends Sleeve T Rocks and Madame Genevieve. Shout out to you both. Thank you so much for having me on. Feel free to check them out on Twitch, Madame Genevieve and Sleeve T Rocks. Great people, fantastic people. I'm so glad I got to be on their podcast. Hopefully it won't be the last time, and they've guaranteed that it won't be the last time either. But once again, thanks for having me on. But anyway, getting back to the beer, because that's why we're here, right? To talk about the beer. It isn't an awful taste, but I was actually kind of hoping for more. When I took that first smell, I was hoping for the taste to be better. Honestly, the smell is better than the taste. Overall, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. For a German beer, it still does taste good. Don't get me wrong. It's still a beer I would recommend. I do think I've had better German beers, but I'm not saying don't go out and buy this one. But I would definitely say, even in my time in Germany, even like here in the States where I bought German beer, it's not one of my favorites. I would still recommend it. It's something good to drink on a hot summer day like today, but it's not a bad beer. It's definitely worth the money. Now, on to current events. So yes, of course, my Trump derangement syndrome is continuing to kick in. That's right. I say I have Trump derangement syndrome, but you know what? The guy makes me absolutely batshit crazy. Honestly, and I still remain on this. I believe the true Trump derangement syndrome is the people that follow him like nonstop. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but it's just blatantly true. It's blatantly obvious in my opinion. But as the days carry on, former President Trump's story and his defense is getting weaker and weaker as the days go on, and it's actually becoming more pathetic. Donald Trump has continued to insist that these documents that he took from the White House were his for the taking, and that the FBI has no right to take these documents. Oh my goodness, poor Donald Trump. They're taking documents from him. They're just trying to make him out to be some scapegoat. This was all political. But let's just get down to brass taxes. Let's talk about the facts of this case so far. As I've covered in recent episodes, Trump has had multiple chances to comply with returning the documents that belong to the government. Let me say that again. They belong to the government, not to Donald Trump. The originals must stay with the government. But let's just go over the timeline real quick, okay? In mid-January of 2022, 15 boxes were retrieved from Mar-A-Lago to be taken to NARA, the National Archives Records Administration. This occurred after a rep from Trump's team said that there were records being kept at the resort, okay? Not a big deal. being gracious about it. 31 January 2022, it was reported that Trump had been known to tear up documents and dispose of them in places like the toilet and the fireplace. Some people in his own administration actually managed to piece some of these documents together of these said documents. 18th of February 2022, it was said, in fact, classified information in these 15 boxes from that the White House records that were stored at Mar-A-Lago. Trump insisted he had carte blanche to declassify said documents. While it is true the president does have a say and he can just declassify all his documents, it appears as though nobody seems to remember this. Not John Bolton, his former national security advisor, not Bill Barr, his former attorney general. There is hardly anybody that have been able to verify this story that he's actually said, I declassify this, I declassify that. Even if he did declassify these documents, there still has to be a notification to the agencies, FBI, NSA, CIA, what have you. They have to have a record that these documents have been declassified, because he can't just declassify these documents and then boom, put them on the internet. It doesn't work like that. Regardless of what anybody might tell you, it's not how it works. Even though the president does have the authority to declassify these documents, there still has to be a trail. There still has to be a process. All right? This isn't like the times where Nixon says, well, when the president does it, it's not against the law. This is a big deal. We are talking about our national security, for crying out loud. On the 25th of February, the House Oversight Committee and Reform stated they needed additional documents in regards to Trump's mishandling of classified documents. The Democratic representative Carolyn Maloney of New York stated to form a case if he did in fact violate records laws when he took these documents to Florida. Spring of 2022, the FBI and then the Justice Department served a subpoena for some documents to believe to still be at Mar-A-Lago. More of these dockets were taken out in June of 2022. Now, this is where it gets interesting. In June of 2022, Christina Bobb, a former OAN journalist who also served at the Department of Homeland Security and is now an attorney for the former president, signed a document under penalty of perjury that there were no more documents at Mar-A-Lago. No more. Not any more documents whatsoever. She signed the document. And as far as I know, she wasn't compelled. She wasn't forced. Nobody forced her to, sign that document. She signed it because, hey, she might believe that those were all the documents. But the fact of the matter is that she signed the document indicating that there was no more documents of this nature at Mar-A-Lago. Big surprise. Guess what? Somebody leaked, hey, there's still more documents here at Mar-A-Lago. On 5th of August 2022, Judge Bruce Reinhart approves application of the warrant to where the FBI carried out the raid and found 2 times as many classified material than they had in June, for crying out loud. 8th of August 2022, the raid is conducted. Trump was not there because at the time he was in New York. He had his own crimes to answer for already. Trump and his loyalists insisted that the FBI has been weaponized against him by President Biden so they can find something to prevent him from running in 2024. That's no surprise, honestly. These people, these MAGA birds, these MAGA loyalists are always going to do everything in their power to find a way to deflect and say, oh, no, we're not the ones. We are not the guilty party. It's obviously the FBI has been weaponized against President Trump, so he can't run in 2024. That's the whole meaning behind this, which is already a weak defense anyway, because this is kind of like how the chain of events went. They said, you can't be here. We are here for, the FBI says, we're here to look for documents. Oh, there's no more documents here. Okay, what about these documents? Oh, well, you planted those. Well, no, we found them here. Oh, well, I declassified these documents. Okay, so prove that you declassified these documents. Oh my God, I'm being attacked by the FBI. The FBI is coming after me. The FBI is attacking me right now. They've been weaponized against me. That's pretty much what it's looking at right now. This guy will never, ever take responsibility for this matter, but I digress. Let's continue to talk about this. On the 10th of August, threats have been lobbed against the FBI, and Trump loyalists like Marjorie Taylor Greene demand that the FBI be defunded. We're talking about the party of law and order here. They insist that it's wrong for people to say defund the police. Now, I have never been an advocate for defunding the police. I just want there to be some damn accountability. That's not too much to ask, is it? No, of course not. However, there are people out there that are going to tell you that the FBI needs to be defunded because they are corrupt, even though the FBI director was appointed by Trump, a man he considered a man of high integrity. But now suddenly Christopher Wray is this corrupt individual who's been weaponized against the former president, which is a crock of shit, honestly. 11 August, a Trump loyalist in Cincinnati, Ohio, tries to breach an FBI building in retribution of what's happened to Trump so far. He even went on social media stating what his intent was. I still have yet to hear Trump denounce this attack. I still have yet to hear anybody denounce this attack. I'm not saying they supported it, but I'm also saying they did not denounce it. This guy deliberately said, with AR-15 style weapon and a nail gun, I think it was, he wanted to attack the FBI and try to get into an FBI building in Cincinnati, Ohio, because he felt that Donald Trump was under attack by the FBI. You can't make this shit up. Time for another drink. But this is exactly the problem. But this is just more of what I'm going to get into in the second part of the show. But these guys, these MAGA birds, have asked that the FBI be defunded. As soon as Donald Trump said the FBI is out of control, shortly afterwards, every swinging MAGA bird was on Twitter saying, defund the FBI, defund the FBI. They act like somebody was shot and killed at Mar-A-Lago, which nobody was. And I even covered how Mark Levin, the supposed great one, even said, this is the worst attack on our republic in recent history, which is wrong, 100% wrong. This is not an attack on a republic at all. This is about somebody taking documents that did not belong to them and not returning them. It's that simple. Anyway, 12 August, Judge Reinhardt unseals the warrant to be released to the public to understand the purpose of the raid. 26 August, the affidavit is released and heavily redacted. And of course, the MAGA birds and everybody else, and even Trump saying, oh, why is there's so much redaction in there? The whole affidavit needs to be revealed. Well, there's a reason why he probably wants it to be revealed. He wants to find out who snitched on him. Who are the names of the witnesses? Guess who also asks for stuff like this? Mafiosos. Drug cartels. They probably want to know whose names, who are the witnesses to these cases. They probably want all this stuff. They want to find out what was that leaked this information, possibly, that Mar-a-Lago still had more documents. But obviously, for the safety and the protection of these witnesses, they're not going to release those names. And they have every right not to. This could compromise the entire investigation. And you could bet your bottom dollar, if this was a Democrat that did the exact same thing, I'd be saying the exact same shit. But the fact of the matter is, it's not a Democrat that did this. Even though the Republicans have consistently tried to find a case that Hillary is somehow corrupt, that Hunter Biden is somehow corrupt. You know what? If you've got a case against those two, then bring the damn charges, prove the case, and launch it, and then hold them accountable. But it's not a good defense. This is why defense attorneys don't say, well, my client has been accused of murder, but what about these other murders that might have happened? That would be a terrible defense for the lawyers to actually launch into. But people don't want to talk about that because they just want to defend their God Emperor, essentially. But currently this week, this is where it just gets absolutely sad and pathetic, honestly. More is getting released, and there's even been a picture that shows all the classified, not all the classified, but a good deal of classified folders on the floor. Now, I just want everybody to understand something, and I'm pretty sure if you got a lick of common sense, you would know. The records weren't found on the floor. But guess who did assume they were found on the floor? You guessed it, the former president. Listen to this genius, this absolute whiz, shall I say, on Real America's Voice. You got to listen to this. This is his voice.
A lot of people think that when you walk into my office, I have confidential documents or whatever it may be, all declassified. But I had confidential documents spread out all over my floor. And like a slob, like I'm sitting there reading these documents all day long, or somebody else would be. It's so dishonest when you look at it. And so people were concerned because they said, gee, that's a strange scene. You look at the floor and you see documents, right? They have cover sheets of documents. No, they put them there, John, and they put them there in a messy fashion. And then they took a picture and they released it to the public. And this is what we're dealing with these people. They raided a house of a president, a former president, and setting a whole new standard for what's going to come later, I would imagine. We're like a third world nation, and they did it for political purposes. This is all done for political purposes. It has nothing to do with anything else. There was no secret. Did you see the pictures? They were standing outside of the White House, literally on the sidewalk, waiting for trucks to come in to take it. In other words, it's not like this was some sinister plot. They have pictures of guys standing outside. The box is literally outside. The sun is pouring down, and they're waiting for a truck. And then they have pictures putting them on the truck. There was nothing secret about it. There didn't have to be anything secret. And all declassified. But when you look at what they've done, and you look at even something like this, when you look at what they're doing to our country, it's hard to believe. And the people aren't going to stand for it, John. They're not standing for it. They're really angry. They're upset. They're sad, but they're really angry.
That's not the point. Does this idiot not understand that nobody's suggesting that you're a messy son of a bitch? Nobody's suggesting that you don't keep a clean house. We know you hire housekeepers. The question is, do you pay them? But the fact of the matter is it's the fact that you had these documents to begin with. It's the fact that you had these materials after your attorney, Christina Bobb, signed a document under penalty of perjury that there was nothing else left at Mar-A-Lago. That's the point, Donald. That's the point, dipshit. That is the frickin' point. But you're trying to make this about whether people are worried about whether you're a messy person. I mean, you're probably a messy eater more than likely. But the fact of the matter is it's not about whether you keep a tidy house. It's all about the fact that you had these documents. Anytime that there's an investigation, I mean, hell, I'll even give my own personal experience in regards to this. When I worked in Iraq in 2008, I was the Tactical Site Exploitation NCO, which basically meant anytime I felt that we were going into a house where there might be intelligence to be gathered, do you know what I would do? I would take a picture. What I would do is I would grab all the items that I believed that could be collected for intelligence. I laid it out on the floor, and I took a picture of it. I didn't necessarily take a picture of where it was at the start. I could have. However, I also took a picture of all the items laid out, so that way everybody, when I did the sworn statements, they said, hey, this is what we've taken from you. You can come and make a claim for them later on, and then we can reimburse you, whatever, however it went. I'm pretty sure that's exactly how the FBI does it. I'm just going to take a stab in the frickin' dark here, but I'm pretty sure that's how they do their standard operating procedures. They don't just take a picture of it of where it's at, because I don't expect the FBI or anybody else to grab a filing cabinet. Oh, but wait, there's more. To grab a filing cabinet and take a picture of files located in the filing cabinet. They got to pull the stuff out from the location where it is, put it on the floor, and take the picture. Not necessarily of the material that is stated on there, but all the documents that are in place. The cover sheet that said top secret information, that says secret, that says confidential. They got to take a picture. Hey, this is what we found right here. The fact of the matter is, it's that they were there. Your own attorney said that there was no more documents at Mar-A-Lago. And you're making this about whether it's messy, that you're a messy person or something like that. That's not the point, dude. Holy shit. How dumb can you be, honestly? This is why people have got to realize that we had this guy as president for 4 agonizing years. And he still continues just to prove how stupid he is, honestly. And I hate to sound so divisive, but it's true. This guy's making out to be like he's a messy person, but he's not the only one. He's not the only one that's making this claim. Sean Hannity, another Trump loyalist, had a few guests on to talk about this. One of them was Alina Habba, or however you pronounce her name, also an attorney of the former president. Just listen to her brilliant 2 cents on this piece. It's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, nowhere. What's happened is now they've put this picture out so that you would assume, and I am somebody who has been, and the press loves to talk about this, especially today. I'm somebody that has been in his office. I've seen it. This is not the way his office looks. They give you this appearance that you walk in and there's these top secret documents just strewn about. A. B. They don't understand. Something could be marked top secret, could be marked classified. The Presidential Records Act, he would have said this is declassified. It doesn't get a new marking all the time. He's left the office. It is a complete public spectacle, and I'm not really going to stand by it anymore. You know, I personally have gotten intimidated. People have tried to intimidate me. It's not going to work. You can't just put a picture like this and say, look.
Did the FBI do that, or was that the way that room looked before they went in there? Do you have any firsthand knowledge?
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen the press today. I do have firsthand knowledge, as you know. I have been down there. I'm down there frequently. I have never seen that. I have never, ever seen that. That is not the way his office looks. Anybody that knows President Trump's office, he has guests frequently there. It's just a joke. They literally must have gone in and taken out documents they wanted, or cover letters as it is, and put it about so that the public believes that this is top secret documents that were on his floor. It's ridiculous. I can tell you personally, It's ridiculous. I've never seen that.
Nobody is saying that he's messy. Nobody's saying that he's leaving top secret documents on the floor. Nobody is making that case. You're just verifying and validating that he had these documents to begin with. And you might say, oh, well, these documents aren't always declassified. They have to be declassified, and there has to be markings indicating they've been declassified. Because if he's declassified them, if he's taken a classified document and declassified to unclassified, that means it is available for public viewing due to a Freedom of Information Act request. But they didn't do that, did they? This is just getting worse and worse and worse for Trump. But guess what? You know what's so amazing about some of this stuff? Some of these documents were not found in a SCIF, which is a sensitive compartmented information facility. I've been in a few of these, and I'm telling you, it is not easy to get inside of them. You have to have a certain clearance. You can't have a cell phone in there. You can't have an iPhone in there. You can't have an Apple Watch in there. Nothing. No kinds of recording devices whatsoever. They weren't in the safe. No. Guess where some of these documents and files were found? In his desk. I might be quoting Lawrence O'Donnell, but you know what? He said it so well. In his frickin' desk. Not in a locked facility. Not in a SCIF. Not in a safe. Not in a drawer that says classified. In his frickin' desk, people. It's bad enough that people have already infiltrated. Like, some people were able to gain ground into Mar-A-Lago. A Chinese agent was able to sneak onto Mar-A-Lago before him being caught. But just think about how many people might not have been caught. I mean, I hope nobody got wind of our national secrets from Mar-A-Lago. That'd be horrendous. But the fact of the matter is that classified documents were in his desk. Not a secure location. Anybody else, that would just be, criminal. You would be thrown in prison for this. I took these briefings. I had a secret clearance, and I could tell you without a shadow of a doubt, if that was a lowly private, that private would get the book thrown at them. But the fact of the matter is that nobody, even Donald Trump said that nobody is above the law. But for some reason, his loyalists are losing their freaking minds, saying that he's being attacked. And the thing is, there is no defense for this. Because anytime you press people into this, anytime you pressure them into it and back them into a corner, what's the first thing to say? Oh, what about Hunter? Oh, what about Hillary? It's such a weak defense. Again, this is why defense attorneys don't use that defense. Oh, what about this person? They don't do that. If they do, they're terrible defense attorneys, and you need to find somebody else. But I'm simply telling you this. When I look at what is going on, and when I hear these idiotic statements, they are completely missing the point. It's not about whether the president is messy or not. It's all about the fact he had these damn documents. And guess what? Of the more than 11,000 government records and photos, 18 were labeled as top secret, 54 were labeled secret, and 31 were labeled confidential. This is according to Reuters' tally of the government's inventory. And just so you all know, in case you didn't know it already, top secret is the highest classification level reserved for the country's most closely held secrets. Some of these secrets are for the benefits of our partner forces overseas. Just think about what kind of national security secrets that we might have that could compromise their security. It's bad enough that he pretty much destroyed our credibility, and then now we've got a president that's actually working on our credibility building back up because he's willing to work with our allies, not with our enemies. There are also 90 empty folders, 48 which were marked classified, while others indicated that they should be returned to staff, secret military aid, but they weren't. People, you got to realize something. These documents do not belong to him. He is not the president anymore. He hasn't been the president since January 21st of 2021. He has not been the president since then. Once he is done with his oath of office, he's supposed to be debriefed. He is supposed to be escorted off the premises. He's then supposed to be told, hey, there's a lot of things you can or cannot say to other people. But I'm pretty sure he didn't listen. Why? Because Trump doesn't listen to people that he thinks he's smarter than. That's just the kind of guy he is. He will not listen to people that he thinks he knows better than. He does not read material. He has to have stuff spelled out for him. This is the most consistent thing that I have found with Donald Trump. There are times where he does not understand how things are, so people got to spell things out for him. Sometimes people need to spell shit out for me. I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. This is why, like, when Donald Trump said that Mike Pence can overturn the electoral votes, it was because Rudy Giuliani told him that he could, that he had the power to do so, which was not true. But if you're within Trump's inner circle, he'll believe you. But if you go against him, he's not going to believe you. He'll accuse you of not being a team player. He will accuse you of not following and stepping in line with him, which is dangerous. It is 100% dangerous. People need to understand this. This is a dangerous individual we are talking about. I'm not talking about him just being dangerous because of his arrogance. I'm talking about his negligence. The fact that he felt that these documents belong to him. And the fact that his main concern is, oh, I don't want people to think I'm messy, that I would keep a messy house. It's not about being messy. It's the fact that you had these documents that did not belong to you, but to the government and the people. Not saying that the people have a right to these documents. I'm simply stating that these documents are not yours. You signed an executive order that punishes people for the mishandling of classified documents. And here you are, mishandling classified documents. And what if I was to go with a hypothetical, what if he actually did declassify these documents? You know what his former Attorney General, Bill Barr, said? That's completely irresponsible. And I agree. Just grabbing all these documents and then declassifying them just because is completely irresponsible, because there are some things that even I should not know about. Documents and secrets at the highest level are things like this I should not know about. Why? Because I don't have an understanding of it, and let alone the fact that this is the sake of national security. There's a reason why there's a process to get people these clearances. It's not just, boom, hey, you got a clearance now. There's a process. They have to find out what kind of people you've had contact with. What kind of people from foreign countries have you had contact with? Tell me about your job history. Who have you worked for in the past? Where have you lived? They have to verify this information. You have to be verified, and you have to by the FBI. There is a reason why people need to come to understand about this. There is a process behind this whole thing. And the fact of the matter is anybody that tries to defend this, you're just fighting an uphill battle. And guess what? There are boulders just bearing down on you right now. It's time for you idiots to abandon ship. Trump is in serious trouble. Yes, they have not pressed any charges yet, but this is indefensible. With each passing day, it's just going to get worse and worse for Donald Trump. And you have two choices right now. You could either choose to ride out and sink in the ship that is known as MAGA, or you could say, it's time for me to move on to bigger and better things. Maybe it's time for you to move on to Governor DeSantis. I don't know. But I'm just telling you this right now. What Donald Trump has done, he's admitted that he's taken these confidential documents. He's claimed he's declassified them, but there's no proof to back that up. But what else can you expect from a compulsive liar? But what else can you expect right now? He's just going to drag you further down, and at his first opportunity, he's going to throw you, and I mean you that are defending him, under the bus at the first chance. He'll sell anybody out. It's just how he is. It's the kind of guy he is. And this might sound divisive. Well, buckle your seatbelts. It's about to get a hell of a lot worse. So Biden went off on gave a speech yesterday. I know I said a couple days ago, but he gave a speech yesterday in Pennsylvania. He went off on Trump and all MAGA Republicans. Now, it's a 25-minute speech. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you. I'm only going to play some of the highlights that I was able to find, because I think some of these highlights are the most important parts of it. Now, I may or may not stop in between to give you my thoughts on what he just said there, but please listen in.
Equality and democracy are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise. So tonight, I've come to this place where it all began to speak as plainly as I can to the nation about the threats we face, about the power we have in our own hands to meet these threats. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans, are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans.
Now, why is that true? Can anybody take a stab in the dark as to why that's true? I'll tell you why. Every single person that ran against a Trump-endorsed candidate has pretty much lost. That's how bad it's getting. There are people out there that say let's just take Liz Cheney, for example. She decided to put her entire career on the chopping block. She risked her career and her livelihood for the January 6th committee because that was a bridge too far for her. And who did she lose to? She lost to a woman that was endorsed by Trump who has no real platform. But the fact that she was endorsed by Trump. I mean, look at who's running against Gretchen Whitmer here in Michigan. Tudor Dixon, a woman that has no real basis, no real platform for herself, except that she was endorsed by Trump. This is true. This is all true. There are Republicans that are willing to risk their careers because they feel like there are some things that are just a bridge too far. I remember Mitt Romney. Even he said that he would be willing to vote for impeachment against Trump. He was at an airport. Some MAGA birds approached him and said, "We will primary you." And he says, "Okay, I guess I'm getting primaried then." This is why it's dangerous. And you're going to find out more about why I think about this in a second.
And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies, empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself.
That's true, too. There are some people that are willing to say, if I feel like the election was stolen, that I will use my executive powers or my powers as governor or whatnot to basically say, nah, I reject these votes. There's one right now running for governor in Pennsylvania. His name is Doug Mastriano, a retired colonel in the United States Army, I might add. Also an election denier. Also a MAGA bird. Also a Trump loyalist. He's come out and flat out said that he would deny, if he is elected governor, that he would deny the votes in an election, which is horrific. Nobody should have that kind of power. If the people decide on who they decide to vote for, if the people have decided electorally, even though I think the Electoral College is completely outdated and either needs to be revamped or just completely cast out, The people should be the one deciding who runs the country, who is voted into office. But if a governor of one state decides to throw a little temper tantrum and say, I have to stay loyal to this guy, and say, I'm going to reject your votes, that's entirely too much power, and that's the power of a dictator, and we cannot have that.
Tried everything last time to nullify the votes of 81 million people. This time, they're determined to succeed in thwarting the will of the people. We are not powerless in the face of these threats. We are not bystanders in this ongoing attack on democracy. This is a nation that respects free and fair elections. We honor the will of the people. We do not deny it. Blind loyalty to a single leader and a willingness to engage in political violence is fatal to democracy. So I want to say this plain and simple. There is no place for political violence in America, period.
No place for political violence in America. Who disagrees with that? You know, when Antifa consistently was raiding and rampaging across the country, I denounced it at every turn. Antifa, even would send me messages, or people claim they're Antifa, saying that we know where you live, which I'm pretty sure they didn't. They probably just saw my phone number was from Oregon, so they said, we know you live in Oregon. I'm like, okay. But there's no need for political violence whatsoever. It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, whether you're left, right, or center. There is no need for it. But it's so important for us to focus on this one thing. I've said time and time again that Theodore Roosevelt even told us that patriotism means to stand behind the country. It does not mean to stand behind any president or any elected official. When you got the president of the United States saying that you must show loyalty to me, but I won't show any loyalty to you, paraphrasing, you're in trouble right now. That means you are dealing with a guy that has an ego, he's a sociopath, he's a narcissist. But Biden here says that nobody should remain loyal to one person. He's not calling and demanding for your loyalty. And you know what? I don't even care if you don't like Biden. You can say all the horrible things about him that you want to. But at least he's not demanding your loyalty while offering none in return. And of course, you're going to have those people that say, oh, what about this picture he said of where he says, I don't work for you. You know what? You can throw that picture around all day you want to if you want. That's entirely up to you. But at least the one thing I can definitely say is Biden has never, ever demanded that we show him any love or loyalty. He's been very consistent. He says he's willing to work across the aisle, just not with MAGA Republicans. MAGA Republicans don't want to work with him. They will do everything in their power to ensure that he fails. Because that's what MAGA Republicans do, to appease their God Emperor.
None, ever. I believe in the give and take of politics, in disagreement and debate and dissent. We're a big, complicated country.
Agreed.
But democracy endures only if we, the people, respect the guardrails of the republic. Only if we, the people, accept the results of free and fair elections. Only if we, the people, see politics not as total war, but mediation of our differences. You can't love your country only when you win. The cynics and the critics tell us nothing can get done, but they're wrong. There is not a single thing America cannot do, not a single thing beyond our capacity if we do it together. The darkness of Charlottesville, of COVID, of gun violence, of insurrection, we can see the light. Light is now visible. Light that will guide us forward. The MAGA Republicans believe that for them to succeed, everyone else has to fail. They believe America, not like I believe about America. I believe America is big enough for all of us to succeed. And that is the nation we're building, a nation where no one is left behind. We can't afford to leave anyone on the sidelines. We need everyone to do their part. So speak up, speak out, get engaged, vote, vote, vote. We just need to remember who we are. We are the United States of America, the United States of America. And may God protect our nation, and may God protect all those who stand watch over our democracy.
I know these guys like to call him Sleepy Joe, but this guy's been eating his Wheaties or some shit like that. Because, I used to think that, Joe Biden was kind of like sometimes, sounded a little confused. But I think it's just because again, we're talking about a guy that, had brain surgery a while back. We're also talking about a guy that struggled with stutter his entire life. And, I've had my fair share of, making jokes towards Joe Biden. But I tell you what, though, he's definitely speaking some serious truth here. You can say what you want about me, but honestly, the way I'm seeing it is that he is saying is exactly what is 100% factual. There are people out there that are doing everything in their power to continue to divide us. And if you're complaining about what Joe Biden has said, saying how he's dividing all Republicans and attacking millions of people, I want you all to remember something. You MAGA Republicans started this. This is what you wanted. If you don't believe me, any single time a Republican has stood out against Trump, guess what you called them? A rhino. Anytime that you said, if you don't stand with our Trump, with MAGA, if you don't stand with America first, if you don't stand with President Trump, then you are in league with our enemies and you are against what making this country great. I've heard this for 6 goddamn years. I've heard this for 6 years of people telling me that I didn't truly love my country. And I'm not talking about people in particular. I'm talking about people that are just simply on social media. It's complete strangers I know nothing about. I have been told time and time again, if I'm not in league with Trump, then I am against what makes this country great, which is absolute crap. I should not have to be in line with any political party whatsoever. But guess what? As of right now, the Democrats are doing a hell of a lot more than the Republicans are doing. The Republicans are focused on one thing and one thing only: the character attacks. They're only focused on the rhetoric game. They're focused on the things that you might think are important but are not that important. They are not focused on things like infrastructure, healthcare, maternity leave. They're not focused on, making sure that college is more affordable. They're not focused on making sure that veterans are well taken care of. They talk about these things, but they do little to nothing to actually enforce these things. And this is exactly what we need to be focusing on right now as a country. These are the most important issues right now that we should be focusing on going into the damn midterms. But the MAGA Republicans are going to tell you that Biden is trying to divide us. No. You started the division, MAGA. You started the division. You continued this idea. If you're not with us, you're against us, which is bullshit. I want us all as a country to be united. But in order for us to be united, this concept of if you're with us, you're against us attitude has got to go. And if that starts with MAGA, then so be it. I'm not talking about throwing these people in re-education camps. I don't believe in that. I'm simply saying these people have got to wake up and realize that they have been duped. They have been lied to. They have been told for years that MAGA is the only way to go. MAGA was not even started by Donald Trump. It was started by Ronald Reagan. Even Ronald Reagan would be like, what the hell are you people doing? You're taking away and tainting the message of making America great. It's Donald Trump that tries to say, make America great. But the only thing he wants to make great is his personal image. Last time I checked, isn't that a commandment you're breaking? A graven image, which Donald Trump perceives himself to be? Because I will tell you this much. I have never seen this amount of zealotry for one person in this country in my entire lifetime. And it's dangerous. It is 100% dangerous. I also saw a post today, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. I saw it on Twitter, actually. For the past almost 2 years, Republicans have been saying, let's go Brandon, the whole nine, right? Which is actually fuck Joe Biden, right? But here's the funny part, though. There's a meme that I saw. It says, Republicans, fuck Joe Biden. Biden, fuck you too. Republicans, what? Like they actually are offended by the fact that he's actually going after these same people that are basically saying, let's go Brandon, fuck Joe Biden, the whole 9 yards. These people are complete hypocrites. They are pretending to be offended to seek out those that will actually empathize with them. But you know what? I'm going to get down to some real truths. For those that are like really, really complaining about this, you're complete hypocrites. You said absolutely nothing when Trump was calling Obama a Muslim, questioning his birth certificate, slamming John McCain, saying he was only a hero because he got captured, and how he only liked people who didn't get captured, praised his passionate supporters who beat up a homeless Hispanic man, one of the men who was arrested for beating this homeless man, saying that he was citing Trump's anti-immigrant stance. insisted that thousands of Muslim Americans were celebrating on 9/11, consistently calls the press the enemy of the people and calls them fake news, but never clarifies as to why they're fake news. He just says it in his MAGA version, parrot it. Fake news, that's all they do. Blasts anybody that does not support him. Expects everybody to kiss his ass, but never offers any loyalty in return. And you expect me to kiss this guy's ass? If you don't believe me, the loyalists are out in force. Bridget Gabriel on Twitter on the 31st of August says, "It's terrible to see the Fox News crowd turning on President Trump. Absolutely no loyalty or decency." This is just one example of the Trump loyalism that I am seeing on social media still to this day. I tell you what, I'll die in this hill. If you still believe that Donald Trump is the hope for America, you're either blind, you're ignorant, in denial, or you're completely indoctrinated. And there's no hope for you. I really want to hope that it's time for you people. And guess what? Listen, MAGA, if you want to jump off the ship, now's the time to do so. Now's the time to get off the Trump train. Time to get off the ship. It's the damn Titanic. It is sinking. Women and children first, then men. However you want to work it. I don't care at this point. It is dangerous, and he is leading you back down a dark path. He is trying to take you into the past where women don't have rights, where LGBTQ plus people don't have rights. Is this really the America you want to live in? Why? Explain this to me. Someone please sell me the Republican platform, for crying out loud. I want to hear it. What is the Republican platform? What makes it so damn appealing? What makes Trump so damn appealing? There is nothing appealing about him, honestly. And lastly, I just find it absolutely hypocritical how everybody's complaining about how Biden had 2 Marines standing behind him while he gave a speech. This is nothing new. Every president has given a speech, even if it's a rousing speech with Marines in the background. There's nothing new about this. There are even people out there saying, why didn't Obama address his disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan and the 13 service members that died? First things first, you don't give a damn about those service members. They're just names. They're just faces for you. You don't care about them, though. You never have. You never will. They're just political talking points for you to have on. You know, I could have easily just said, I think Trump should pay for what happened in Niger. I never said anything like that. I did, however, think it was unfortunate that he couldn't even remember one of the names of the soldiers that died in Niger. But the fact of the matter is that these Marines and these service members that died in Afghanistan last year died doing their jobs. Could have been preventable? Absolutely. But we should not be wielding the deaths of our service members like a battle axe against our political opponents. But yet, the Republicans have no shame, especially the MAGA Republicans, especially those that voted against our health care earlier this year. They will use our veterans as political talking points when it suits them best. It's just that factual. I want everybody to remember this. These guys, these MAGA Republicans, these people will tell you that they are looking out for our best interests. The last time I checked, the only interest they're looking out for is their own and for that of Trump. They've done nothing for their constituents. They've done nothing to better the lives of the people that voted for them. They only say, vote for us, and then we'll take care of the rest. But they don't do anything about it. Their main focus is maintaining their status, and their main focus is appeasing Trump. Because if they don't appease Trump, Trump will find somebody else that will appease him. That's the work of a dictator. Trump loves dictators. He loves Vladimir Putin. He loves Xi Jinping. He loves him some Kim Jong-un. Don't believe me? He talks about the beautiful love letter he got from him. He loves dictators because he is addicted to one thing, and that is power. He is addicted to power. That's why apparently at Mar-A-Lago, he has this entire office constructed to look exactly like the Oval Office because he loves power. He loves the control. He believes that, like all other dictators who basically have control over their people, that he should have that kind of power. That's why he insists that people treat him like he is still the president of the United States. Now, granted, even when you're out of office, you're still called Mr. President. But this guy lives for this attention. He lives for it. He lives for this power. That's why I have no doubt he's going to try to run again. Because this is the kind of person Donald Trump is. A man that is all about control. Now, I'm not saying Joe Biden is perfect. Joe Biden's made some mistakes in his life. He's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Once he's out of office, though, I don't see him making a desperate comeback. I don't see Obama, doing the same thing, or Bush or Clinton. But Trump cannot stay out of the limelight. He needs to hold on to this power because this is all he has. And like I said, if you take away this power from him, if he is shunned, if he is hated, if people denounce him, demean him, and say like he is the worst person ever, if he loses his base completely, that would destroy him completely. Donald Trump is nothing without his supporters. He is nothing without those that love him. He is an empty shell of a man, and honestly, if you take that away from him, it will completely destroy him from the inside out. He needs this power. He needs this clout. That's why he's endorsed so many people, because they think that because they have his name, that it's a guaranteed shoo-in to their offices. Well, Sarah Palin just lost her chance in Alaska. That seat has flipped to a blue seat for the first time since the 1970s. And hopefully this is the start of something bigger. The people that have been endorsed by Donald Trump need to crash and burn along with him. It is that simple. They need to be shamed, and they need to realize I never should have gotten endorsed by Trump. But that's their only platform. They are clinging to a man that clings to power. He desires it. He wants it. He needs it. That's why he doesn't care if people insult him. He lives for it. He loves it. That's the kind of person Donald Trump is. How many times do I have to say this to get it through people's heads? Obviously enough. That's why it's so important for us, as Americans, once again. If you don't believe me, do your research. Trust but verify. I only give you what is being stated in the news, and I give you my opinion about it. But I'm telling you what right now. We are living in desperate times right now. This election, this midterms election, is going to determine the House and the Senate. This is why it's so important for you to get out there and vote. It is your right to vote. Even if you vote for Mickey Mouse, get out there and vote. Use your rights as an American to get out there and vote. Don't let anybody tell you who you should or should not vote for. But I'm telling you this much. The future of our country rests on your vote. You need to get out there and vote your heart and your conscience, but study the issues and vote for the issues that matter to you the most. Because I'm telling you what right now, if Donald Trump gets back in office, it's going to be hell, honestly. Because his only goal is one thing, a vendetta against those that fought against him. That's going to be his only goal. I'm not saying he's going to start a war. I'm simply saying that he is going to sow enough division and discord in this country because his only goal is a vendetta against those that oppose him, because that's the kind of person he is. Look into his history. Look into the kind of things that Donald Trump does. You might be surprised. You'll find that he is not this brilliant businessman that is also a devout Christian and loving family man, because he is none of those things. He is a corrupt, heartless, immoral, narcissistic sociopath. But he loves this attention, and he is willing to do everything to sow as much divisiveness and discord in this country to meet his own needs. Anyway, thank you so much for everybody that's tuned in tonight. Thank you so much for everybody that's listening on the replay. please be sure to go to my YouTube channel, go to my Spreaker channel, go to my iHeart and Spotify. And hell, go to my TikTok as well. Give me some likes, give me some follows, give me some comments. Do what you got to do. Tell me what you think of this content. Tell me what you think of this episode. Disagree with me if you want to. I don't care. Anyway, I just want to say thank you so much, and I will sign off with this. Stay vigilant, stay hydrated, and keep that beer mug full. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your weekend, and have a great Labor Day, a safe Labor Day.